Welcome to Influence Matters, the show that teaches you how to turn your story into impact and your expertise into influence. I am literary consultant and hybrid publisher Clara Rose. I'm your host, of course. Each week, I cover topics related to crafting your message for the world and building influence for your business, ministry, cause, or brand. So sometimes I'm here teaching you something, and sometimes I have a guest who's doing something interesting or unique in the world that I think you might be interested in. And today I do have a guest. So let me tell you about her. She is a dynamic voice in leadership development. So she's blending years of senior level corporate experience with her passion for equipping new leaders. And you know, I have a heart for those people. She has served in roles, leadership roles specifically for IHG, Goodwill, and Wells Fargo. She understands the challenges of stepping into influence for the very first time. Now she speaks to organizations and teams across the country, guiding first year managers and leaders through confusion of leadership. All the stuff that comes with being a leader for the first time that can be overwhelming for sure. Um, with her optimistic, no nonsense approach, she helps new leaders gain clarity, master their role, and support the people that they are leading in a confident way. She also hosts the Build a Better Business podcast, which a fellow podcaster is always exciting to have on the show, where entrepreneurs share real stories and strategies that help them grow to six figures. So, you know, she speaks my language. Through both her teaching and her podcast, she provides actionable insights for those who are ready to rise, lead, and succeed. And of course, something else we share, she is grounded in her faith as a Jesus lover. She is a beachgoer at heart and proudly from Georgia. Her work reflects her belief that leadership is not about position, it's about intention. Please help me welcome Kaneshi Hart. Welcome, Kaneshi.
Hi, Clara. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. We have so much in common. It was so fun chatting with you in preparation for this because we just speak the same language, which is always super fun to have somebody you connect with in that way. Now, of course, I read your bio, but tell my audience, what do you really do when it comes right down to it?
Yeah, I love that question. Really, I help the people who are just stepping into management for the first time figure out how to go from I used to work for myself and was only responsible for myself and was an amazing performer on my own. And now I have to figure out how to help other people be amazing and do that well so that they stay, they thrive, and both you and your team members succeed. And so it's a lot of fun because being branded a leadership, Clara, and you're in the leadership space, so you know this, can be frightening, but can also be exciting. And it presents so many opportunities. And we get so excited sometimes that we might overextend ourselves or over project what we're doing in thinking we have to do everything for everybody or be everywhere for everybody or correct and help everybody when leadership is about influence. And I love what you talked about in your opening. It's all about influence and how do we help others and influence others to be better and to be them best selves. And if we've never worked with people from a leadership capacity, we don't always know how to do that. And so that's what I really do. I help first time leaders figure out how to do that well in their first year.
I love that. I love that because, like you said, it can be really overwhelming, right? It can be, especially if you've never like owned your own business, kind of guided your own ship, if you will, right? To then all of a sudden be responsible to guide a bunch of people can be a daunting task. And I see people kind of flail in that at first. They're like, I don't know how to manage all these different personalities. I don't know how to manage all the right the communication gaps and all the things that come with teams, right? That could be a
Yes,
brand new experience if you've never done it, for sure.
absolutely. And you don't know, Clara, what you don't know, right? And so
Mm,
you don't know that there's a communication gap. You don't know that
right.
there are different personalities. You may to an extent, but you don't yet understand how that impacts how people work, how people show up every day,
Mhm.
how they respond to you. I took this training one time, Claire, and had never heard it before. And I had been in leadership probably 15 years at that point. And it talked about the way that people actually sit is reflective of their personality. And so if you see somebody who's like this,
Mm.
we can get the impression they're bored, they're not paying attention,
Mhm.
or they're not engaged. When in actuality, that's a personality type manifestation of how they listen. And so learning
Mm.
those things helps to eliminate feeling some kind of way toward them or interacting with them in a way that's not
Right.
reflective of how they're actually giving you energy. And so, so much we can learn about what we don't know.
Right. Because we just have no clue what it is we don't know.
Right.
Well, and it's more than just personalities, right? So we bring personality to the table, right? But we also bring our own strengths and our own weaknesses and our own insecurities and all of that. We bring that
Yeah.
to our leadership, but so do all the people you're trying to lead. Right?
Yes. Right. And you add to that expectation. You bring
Mm,
your expectation of how things should
true.
look or how things should
Mhm,
go. And not always knowing because we may not have asked or know to ask and have those
mhm,
conversations, or people may not be at a place of trust to really share those expectations with
mhm,
you as a leader, or they may not know them themselves, right? We internally know it, but to verbalize it may not necessarily be a strength. And so when we bring expectations, ours as well as those that we're working with,
mhm,
and things don't add up, tension can be created. And
mm,
especially new leaders don't know, okay, what's the disconnect here? Why is this
right.
occurring? Right. And that's why one of the things that teach brand new leaders is when you go into any new situation, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're hiring your very first team member, or whether you're in the corporate office and you're promoted to lead a team,
Mhm.
don't share your input for the first 4 weeks, right?
Oh,
Especially if it's an established team in the corporate world, or even
mm,
as an entrepreneur, if you are hiring someone who is experienced, you're not having to train them, you're telling them how you do processes, you're explaining your business, but they're experienced. You're hiring them because they
mhm,
have a skill set that's stronger than yours.
right.
Listen the first 4 weeks. And that's hard, right? Because we go into
Mhm,
a leadership position thinking, I gotta lead. I have to
right.
vocalize the influence. I have to share what I know and give you guidance. No, the best
Right.
way to figure out what is the expectation of everybody else? How can I understand where they're coming from, what their thought processes are, so that I can then reflect on my expectations, see where there are gaps, see where there are consistencies, and then we can move forward is just asking questions when you first become step into a leadership role. How do you do
Mm,
this? What do you think about this? What are your thoughts about this? How have you
right.
done this in the past? What's worked? What's not? And that's so important, but it's so hard. Claire, it's so hard because we really want to just step in and
Yes.
start showing off. I know what I'm doing.
Well, and maybe not just showing off, right? But that is like human nature tendency, but you also come with a preconceived idea of the way things should be. And that has I've been an entrepreneur for years, but I have always struggled with that because I'm super strategic, my brain just functions in a strategic way and a little OCD, right? So I like things should be color coordinated and lined up in a row and all the things that come with that personality type and those the way that I'm wired struggle with letting people shine in their own way, right? Watching for what their strengths are and how, so they may do something 10 times better than I do it, right? Or they get there in a different way than I do. And allowing that. That's part of good leadership, right? But super hard for some personalities, stronger personalities, to just let go and let them flourish in their own way. So I think
Yeah.
that's a learned skill.
Oh my goodness. And it's
Mhm.
not something that we should think happens in the first month or after we
Right,
take a course or after we
right,
go through a leadership development training. It is a
right.
consistent as you said, learned behavior. So
Mhm.
you now get the information that this is what I should do. Now I practice it, then I fail. Okay. And then
And fail.
I reflect. Right? Okay,
And a
that
fail.
didn't go well. I fell again. Let me try. Oh, I made a
Right?
little progress this time. It's a
Mm.
continual process. And so
Mhm.
I want people to give themselves grace in the learning process
Mm.
and
Yes.
have transparency with your team members that you're
Mm.
learning as well to offer them the space to give you grace. Right? That's
Yes.
something that I don't think leaders often we can be guilty of not always giving ourselves grace or inviting others to
Mhm.
give us grace because again we think I need to know it all or I need to be that sounding
Right.
board and instead if we say Clara, I'm going to attempt to understand right how you do things and I'm going to do
Mhm.
my best to let you do what you're great at. If I overstep, if I'm a little too hovering with you maybe or I
Mm.
check in too much,
Yeah.
can you give me some grace and can you give me some feedback? And that's the other thing
Right.
about when I talk about ask and listen, that includes feedback, right? Again, something that we
Right.
may not always think initially to ask for, but ask for feedback on a regular basis, especially new managers. That should be a
Mhm.
monthly, at least quarterly conversation with your team where you just say, hey, let's sit down and tell me where I can help improve how I work with you or where I can support you better. And it takes, again, I go back to where it's not going to be the first conversation. People take
Right.
time to trust you. Right? And they're
Right.
not going
For
to say
sure.
to their new leader, "Oh, this is just you're just not good at that." It's going to take a
You're
couple of
soft.
conversations and right. Doesn't we're not that courageous usually. But give it
It's
time,
true.
right? And asking feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's true that you teach people how to talk to you and to treat you, right? So when you have a new group that you're leading or new person that you're leading, um, giving them permission, right? You teach them how to have that conversation with you. So here's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? Right? What from your perspective, what do you think? So that you empower them, right? To step in and go, well, here's what I think. And so I'm very much that way with my own team because they have different skill sets than I do, right? You hire people with different skill sets. And so I could say, hey, I have this idea. I think this is how it's going to flesh out. This is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts about that? And then the things that I get back from them are often things I never thought of, right? Someone to so you give them permission to be honest and give you feedback, and you don't have to be. Yes, you're in control, right? You're in charge, but you don't have to be the only one rowing, right?
Correct.
And
Yes.
that's I think that's also learned for new leaders, right? It's a learned
Yeah.
behavior for
For
sure.
sure. You said something that I talk about, and I actually encourage people to do it in a switched way. So I love how you said you have an idea and then you take it to your team. What are your thoughts on it? You share it. This is how I think it's going to flesh out. For new managers, as they're getting to know their team, I actually encourage them to share. I have an idea, tell what the idea is, share with the team. I have some thoughts about how it's going to go, but I want to hear yours first. And the reason I say that is because in that first year, as teams are gelling, team members are getting to know their leader, leaders getting to know their manager, oftentimes there's a bit of intimidation, and the team members may think, well, I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I'm not yet comfortable really sharing my thoughts. And so they will take whatever direction their leader goes and just add on to that, co sign on it, confirm it.
Mm,
Whereas for new leaders, if they say, this is my idea, tell me what you think, how you would see this, and then I'll share some of my thoughts on the back end, it helps to empower. I love that word that you used, empower the team members to get in the habit and accustomed to the fact that their manager wants to know what they think, that their input and their ideas have
mm,
value. And then they're not
right.
just following along with what they think their leader wants to
I love
hear.
that.
When you get, after you get, that first year, teams get comfortable and your team knows you, they know you're going to listen. Then you may say, hey,
Hmm.
okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is how it's going to flesh out. And they feel comfortable enough to say, okay, well, I'm thinking a little different. Or what about this idea? And so I think that's a
Right.
nuance with new managers that I teach that helps to, again, help them to learn how to lead better and help their team feel more comfortable with them as the leader.
I love that. I love that. I tend to give my idea first. I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective. Of course, my team has been with me for a long time, but um,
Right.
if you're new to it and you're new to people or someone's new to your team, giving them that permission um, to bring their own zone of genius, their own brilliance, right? So if you let people shine, they will, right? They'll step into it and they'll shine in their own way. Otherwise, you're kind of squelching. You're leaving stuff on the table, right? You may never know this person is absolutely brilliant at this, right? But you may never know that if you don't give them that opportunity to show up in
Yes.
that way. So
100.
I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me, in your business, your practice, whatever your coaching practice, I guess, how do you work with do companies bring you in, or how do you interact with your clients?
Yeah. So great question. And I love that you said coaching, Clara, because one thing I tell people is I'm not a coach. And it's amazing because on my podcast started interviewing
Mm,
coaches and talking with coaches. And I felt like the Lord told me to start the podcast for coaches. And I thought, Jesus, I'm not a coach. Why am I talking to coaches? But nonetheless, in being obedient, I do talk to coaches and now entrepreneurs. But I myself have said, I'm not a coach. I'm a speaker and a teacher. And Claire, you probably know this. There are times in your life where people have said to you, are you a teacher, or are you a podcaster, or are you a
mm,
speaker, or are you an author? Because you're an author, right? Are you a writer? Because they just see what you do and think this label fits. And so people have been saying to me for most of my adult life, are you a teacher? And I've always said no, because I always think the school system. But I've learned, okay, I am a teacher and I'm a speaker for leaders. And so I go
mm,
into
mhm,
organizations, companies, um, organizations, so local organizations such as whether your local Rotary or your
mm,
association, your professional association that you're a part of, and then also conferences as well as universities.
mm. Okay.
And so I work with all of those to, in where they are, to either help prepare the pipeline of leaders who are going to step into
Mm,
that space at some point, or to prepare the ones who have just stepped into that new role as
mm.
a brand new leader.
Okay, so you're working mainly in like a more of a corporate environment for an organization, if you will, versus
Yeah.
do you ever work with like entrepreneurs one on one? If somebody's a brand new like entrepreneur in their or they're an entrepreneur thinking, okay, now it's time to bring on a team or right? Are those are
Mhm.
do you ever work with those people?
I will. I haven't yet, but I will. And I would
Mm,
do it in a group situation. And Clara, I'll tell
mm,
you why. I think
yeah.
there's so much power, and we talked about this.
Hmm.
There's so much
Yep.
power in groups learning together.
Hmm.
And for me, the biggest opportunity with doing group work is when bringing people together who are going through the same thing is the
Hmm.
relationships that they build with one another, because
Hmm.
now you have
Sure.
somebody in a similar situation who's receiving the same teaching, that you can talk to them about what you're learning, you can talk to them
Hmm.
about what you're experiencing. And so the relationships that form, but also the accountability. you know i
Hmm.
um I'm a
Yep.
huge accountability person, right? And may not always appreciate people holding me accountable, but I appreciate the principle. And so,
All right.
right? And I want people to do it.
I love that.
But
Yeah.
the accountability is so important because I learned
Mhm,
that, I think, Clara, I know it's over 90%, but we hear the saying that if you set a goal, you're so much higher percentage to achieve
mhm.
it if you write it down than if you
Yeah.
just think it or you verbalize it. Accountability is takes it to a whole nother scale. It's over
Mm.
90%
Yep.
that you will achieve the goal that you set if you write it down. You tell somebody about it and you allow
Yep.
that person to hold you accountable to it. And that's
Yep.
what I would work with entrepreneurs or even new managers in a corporate
Mm.
or a government space or wherever. All are welcome, right? Because you're all going through the same thing
Mhm.
in a
Right.
team situation, group situation, so that
Mhm.
you all have that relationship building and that accountability and that networking that you get to do together.
So, Kanisha, I hate to break this to you, but you are a coach, my friend. Hate to break the news to
Guilty.
you. And interestingly, for a lot of years, people would say, "Oh, you're a business coach." No, no, I'm not. And even to this day, people go, "Oh, you're a book coach." Well, not really, right? So that word coach never really felt like it fit well. But the truth is, I am coaching people toward a goal. Right?
Yes.
In addition to that, helping, I'm doing their editing sometimes, or giving them resources, or I'm helping them with their formatting or doing their formatting. So I'm doing other work, but I really am coaching people. I think it's just getting over that mental hurdle of calling yourself a coach, because I've never loved that. Right. But a few years ago, someone's like, Clara, you keep saying you're not a coach, but my friend, you're a coach, right? You are coaching people toward an end goal, right? Just like a soccer coach, or we don't think anything of having a coach for sports or those kinds of activities, right? So you just got to get over that, oh, I'm not a coach thing, because you're coaching people, right? Especially if you go into like a group setting, like you're talking about. Now you're coaching a group of people in a specific direction. So I'm just telling you, you could fight it, but you're a coach.
I hear you. I hear you. I will tell you one
But I,
funny thing. One thing that's funny as you say that, as I began my podcast, initially focused primarily on coaches, and I'm actually headed back to that area. Um, as in 2020, I feel like maybe it was just because pandemic happened and everybody was all
mhm,
online all of a sudden more. But it seemed like the word coach just became very general, right? And so maybe
yes,
that's where I
yes,
struggle with it, because you mentioned
yeah,
soccer coach. So we automatically think of athletic coaches, makes sense.
mhm,
Where I come from, my corporate background coaching is I'm asking you questions to help guide you where
right,
and help you realize where you need to go, right? Now, in a corporate setting, we have KPIs, we have goals, we need to get where we're
hmm,
going to get.
hmm,
And so that comes in and plays into it. But I guess I struggle because the other coach that's now so prevalent is I have a skill and I'm going to teach you how to do it,
hmm,
and we call that a
right,
coach. But I
right.
guess it is a coach, and so yes, Clara, I hear you.
Yeah, it is a form of coaching. I still to
Yes.
this day call myself a literary consultant, right? Literary
Mhm.
consultant, hybrid publisher, because that's terminology that I'm comfortable with, right? I'm less comfortable calling myself, a coach, and I don't like book coach at all, because there's 100 people online who self-published their ebook, and then now they're their book coach, right? They're going to help
Mhm.
you do your book, and I'm like, time out. One ebook that you self-publish does not make you, an expert in this field. And then they're giving all this advice that's terrible advice to these people who are like paying them good money to end up with terrible end results, right? So
Mhm.
I
Yes.
don't love being connected with that thought, right? I want them to
Mhm.
realize I'm a professional, I've been doing this for a long time. Um, and I'm not just going to help you throw together, a cheesy ebook online, right? that's not
Yeah.
that's not what we're doing here. We're creating a tool, a book used as a tool for your business, ministry, cause, or brand, right? So
Mm.
I totally understand your hesitation around the word, but I think there's been a shift, right? And
Yeah.
we're looking to have people coach us, right? And
Mhm.
especially in community, coach us within community. People headed in the same direction, creates that accountability that you talked about. Way more powerful than doing it alone.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm yammering too much at you, so we're almost out of time. But tell my audience, if they're thinking, Nisha's for me, I need her. How do they connect with you? How do they get your services?
Yeah, so the easiest way, and thank you for allowing me to share, the two easiest ways to connect with me and for us to have a conversation. So let's talk. What are you going through? What do you need? Where are you struggling? And where do you want to get better? All of those apply. You may be struggling as a brand new manager and you're thinking, I need some help, or you may be wanting to step into management and you say, I want to be prepared, any of those spaces, LinkedIn, easiest way to find me. So it's my name. And because it's spelled uniquely with an I at the end, but pronounced Kanesha, you'll be able to find me. And then my email is K Hart, my last name, Hart, speaks at gmail.com. Those are the two fastest ways to get a hold of me.
Okay, so people could also bring you in to speak, right? So if you have a team of people under you and you want to equip your team better,
Mhm.
especially your leaders, you'll come in and just as a speaker and educate to a group.
Absolutely. Yes. And I would do that for a group. I would do that for an organization, an association. I would do that for a conference. And I also do that virtually
Nice.
for your group. So in
Okay.
person or
Nice.
virtual, love to do all of that.
And you do not yet have a book. Is that true?
I
Or do you
don't.
have
And
a book?
Clara, I do
Why
not, but
don't you
I
have a book?
know. See, I know. I know this is a great question. And somebody who's also a publisher, and I love that you talked about, okay, if you published an ebook, you're not a
Right.
publisher, you're not, because you are legit a publisher. I love it.
Yeah.
They said that 96% of people, they gave me the stat, Clara, that 96% of people have a book in them, like have a desire to write or
Yeah.
have a story to tell, but
Yep.
only like single digit percent actually ever produce.
Yep.
So I know
That's
I
so
should
true.
have it.
That's true. And the reason that that is true is that they tried to do it on their own. Right? Or
Mm,
they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this book, and then I'm gonna go find, somebody to edit and someone to publish it." Well, 10 years later, they're still writing this book because, they have writer's block or they've been writing this out, in circles or they write it and they're like, "Blah, I don't have what it takes to pull this off." What they
mm,
really need is a guide, someone to say, "Okay, here's how you do it. Let's brainstorm. Let's blueprint your book. There's a process, a tried and true proven process to getting that content out of your brain and into book format, and it's a process, right? And
mm.
so if somebody doesn't guide you through it, you're just flailing, right? So just having, just like what you do, you guide people to an end result, and I do the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
let's create this, let me show you how to do it. And then most people can actually do the writing piece themselves. They just need an editor and a publisher, right? I need an
Yeah.
editor when I write, right? So
Hmm.
it's just find a professional, right? Find a professional. I totally
Yeah.
agree. Everybody in business could benefit from a book. Just find someone that you trust to help you the process.
Yeah.
That's the
And the
trick, I
thing I love
think.
about what you do, Clara, is you help them do it in 4 months. And I think when you know
Yes.
I can just get it done and it doesn't feel
Yep.
like a 10-year project, then we're more willing to
Right.
say, okay, I can do it in
Let's
4 months.
do this. Yes.
Yeah.
It's if you do the work, right? If you show up and do the
Yes.
work in 4 months, we can have manuscript done. All right. Dang it, I'm out of time totally. Thank you so much for being here, Kanesha. I so appreciate your time. There you have it, guys. She's completely amazing. I know you're going to love her. If you are looking for, wow, I'm out of time today. If you're looking to get your book out of your head, we do have a cohort starting September 17th. You can be a part of it. In 4 months, we will have your book done. You can hop on over to clararose.com, hop on my calendar if you'd like to have a conversation about it, or you could just hop on to work with us, sign up for the next cohort, and we can get you started on your book. All right, my friends. I appreciate that you show up here every week. I don't know who you are, but thank you for spending this time with me every week. I hope that I bring interesting guests, and I hope that I'm bringing value to your world. I strive to make a difference in the world around me, and you are part of my world. So thank you for being there. All right, guys, see you same time, same place next week.